Every time a major tech company strips a screen off a wearable device, um, the internet just kind of loses its collective mind.
Yeah, totally. There's this immediate expectation of a revolution.
Right. A total category killer that is going to fundamentally change how we interact with our own biology. You buy the gadget,
Mm.
you expect a paradigm shift, but then you actually look at the spec sheet and realize, well, this isn't a revolution at all.
No, not at all. It is a highly calculated, incredibly defensive corporate strategy wrapped in silicone.
Which, honestly, is often far more interesting than a genuine revolution.
I mean, yeah. When a dominant player decides to release a calculated defensive product, the compromises they make, what they put in, and more importantly, what they deliberately leave out, act as a roadmap for the entire industry's future.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We are slicing through the massive launch day hype to uncover the reality of the Garmin CIRQA screenless band.
And we've got some great material to work with today.
We do. We are pulling from a stack of incredibly fresh, detailed coverage from July 2026. Specifically, we're drawing from 5 different technical and editorial pieces from the 5runner for our competitive context, alongside a really comprehensive launch day deep dive from DCRainmaker to ground us in the hardware reality.
Which is crucial because the central question we need to answer for you listening is pretty simple. What did Garmin actually ship? What did they lock behind a paywall? And what do these very specific engineering choices reveal about where fitness tracking is heading?
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Because before we even look at the CRQA's hardware, we really have to look at the battlefield it just walked onto.
Oh, absolutely. The last 14 months in the wearable space have been relentless.
Right. We saw 3 major screenless bands hit the market before Garmin even made a move.
Yeah.
You had the Amazfit Helio Strap, the Fitbit Air, and the Polar Loop.
And every single time one of those launched, the tech press instantly crowned it a Whoop killer.
Exactly.
Yep.
A label that none of them actually earned.
Not even close. Whoop has essentially defined this modern category of screenless, recovery-focused trackers, and their business model is the reason they are so hard to kill.
Because you don't actually buy a Whoop band, right?
Right. You rent the ecosystem. They charge anywhere from $199 to $359 a year. You are paying for their proprietary recovery algorithms and that really slick app experience.
So, when the 5runner's analysis bluntly states that the Garmin CIRQA is not a Whoop killer either, but rather a Whoop annoyer, that phrasing really caught my attention.
It's a great term.
But if a massive company like Garmin isn't trying to kill their biggest competitor in this space, what does being an annoyer actually look like in practice?
Well, it looks like building a moat around your existing customers. Think about a dedicated Garmin user.
Okay.
They already have a $900 Phoenix watch for their marathons, or maybe an Edge computer for their bike. They rely on Garmin's metrics, specifically things like body battery and training readiness.
Just to pause there for a second, for anyone who hasn't lived in the Garmin ecosystem, body battery and training readiness are essentially scores out of 100.
Right.
The watch takes your sleep quality, your heart rate variability, and your daily stress, and crunches them into a single number that tells you how much gas you have in the tank today. It's incredibly useful.
Highly useful, yeah. But it requires 247 wear to be accurate. And a lot of users absolutely hate wearing a chunky, heavy GPS watch to bed.
I certainly do. It's so uncomfortable.
Exactly. So what were those users doing? They were buying Whoop bands just for sleep and recovery tracking.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so Garmin was watching their most loyal, high-spending customers leak out of their ecosystem and hand a couple $100s a year to a competitor just for sleep data.
So it's less about conquering new territory and more about stopping the bleeding. It's like a premium coffee shop noticing their regulars are going to the cheap place across the street just to get a morning espresso, so the premium shops start selling a basic, no-frills espresso at cost. They don't care about making money on the espresso. They just want you back in their shop buying their expensive pastries.
That maps perfectly to the economics here. The CIRQA is a one-time purchase of $199.99.
Right.
If you can get your overnight sleep and recovery data seamlessly integrated into the Garmin Connect app you already use without a monthly fee, the friction of paying Whoop a yearly subscription suddenly becomes very hard to justify.
So Garmin is simply annoying Whoop by picking off their most price-sensitive overlapping customers.
Exactly. They're playing defense.
Which brings us to the actual hardware. Because if the goal is just to capture sleep data comfortably, the physical design is everything.
It really is.
And according to DCRainmaker's spec breakdown, the minimalism here is extreme. For that $200, you get no screen, no touchscreen, no onboard GPS.
No Wi-Fi either.
Right. The entire interface is just one textured physical button on the side and a single multicolor LED.
Which, forces the user to learn a completely new visual language. You're essentially deciphering Morse code through light.
Oh, wow, that sounds intense.
It takes some getting used to. Flashing purple means you're in pairing mode. Green means you are actively recording a workout.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And solid red means the workout is stopped. Flashing orange means you're broadcasting your heart rate. And if you double tap the device, it gives you a battery status color.
It sounds a bit like trying to communicate with a tiny, stubborn robot.
It really does.
But reading the reviews, the actual friction isn't the LED colors, it's the button logic. Specifically, the pause issue.
Oh, yeah, the pause logic is wild.
Because you can press the button to start a run, and you can press it to stop a run. But if you want to pause that activity, you cannot do it from the device.
It is a baffling user experience choice. I mean, if you are halfway through a tempo run and you hit a red light at a busy intersection, you can't just tap the band.
Wait, so what do?
You have to physically pull your smartphone out of your pocket, unlock it, open the Garmin Connect app, and hit pause on the screen.
Are you serious? If you're a runner listening to this, you know the exact panic of a forced stop ruining your average pace.
Oh, absolutely.
Fumbling for your phone with sweaty hands while dodging traffic completely defeats the purpose of a screenless wearable. The whole promise of this category is untethering yourself from your screens during a workout.
The untethered promise definitely breaks down there. However, where the physical design actually excels is off the wrist entirely.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Yeah, so the CIRQA allows you to pop the sensor unit out of the wristband and snap it into a dedicated upper armband, which Garmin sells separately for $59.99.
I found this fascinating in the sources. Why on earth would I want to strap a fitness tracker to my bicep instead of my wrist?
It comes down to the physics of optical heart rate sensors, which use a technology called PPG.
Right, the little flashing light.
Exactly. Essentially, the sensor shoots green light into your skin and measures the light that bounces back off your red blood cells. The more blood pumping with each heartbeat, the more light is absorbed, and that's how it calculates your pulse.
So it needs a perfect seal against the skin to get a clean reading.
Yes, and that seal is incredibly fragile. Think about what happens during high-intensity interval training or heavy weightlifting or even just mountain biking.
Lots of gripping and shaking.
Right. You are gripping bars, flexing your forearms, bending your wrists. All of that violently shifts the muscles and tendons right under the watch.
Oh, I see.
So the device lifts off the skin for a fraction of a second, external light leaks in, and the green light scatters. The industry calls this motion artifact, and it completely scrambles the heart rate data.
So moving it up to the upper arm fixes that.
Drastically. The bicep is a much flatter, fleshier surface. When you grip a barbell, your bicep flexes, but the skin on the outside of the upper arm doesn't warp and shift the way a wrist tendon does.
Makes total sense.
By moving the sensor away from the complex mechanics of the wrist, you get a highly stable surface and significantly cleaner data during intense efforts.
But there is a massive catch to this bicep
It's
placement.
a huge catch, yeah.
If you move the CRQA to your upper arm, Garmin completely disables the automatic activity detection and the step counting.
Yep, they turn it right off.
So I have to ask, if a smart band is truly smart, why does optimizing its physical placement to get better heart rate data suddenly give it amnesia about the fact that I'm taking a walk?
Because fitness trackers aren't actually smart, they just run highly specific math models. For the last decade, Garmin has calibrated its accelerometers and algorithms against millions of hours of wrist movement.
Ah, okay.
So when you walk, your wrist swings like a pendulum in a very predictable arc. The algorithm recognizes that specific acceleration signature as a step.
Ah, so when it's up on the bicep, that pendulum motion is completely gone. It's moving more linearly.
Exactly. The acceleration signature of a bicep during a walk does not match the math model for a wrist during a walk.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, so instead of trying to write a completely new algorithm for bicep steps or risking feeding the user terrible data, Garmin just disables the feature entirely.
Which means the user is left managing a strict trade-off. If you want daily step tracking and sleep analysis, keep it on your wrist.
Right.
But if you're doing heavy squats or a threshold run, move it to your arm. But remember, you have to start the workout manually.
It requires the user to be very intentional about what data they prioritize at any given moment.
Speaking of prioritizing data, This leads us to the most controversial hardware decision Garmin made with the CRQA.
The sensor.
Yes, this is where the 5-runner really did some incredible digging, and it exposes a bizarre pricing paradox in Garmin's lineup regarding the sensor itself.
It really is bizarre. So the optical sensor is the heart of any fitness band, and Garmin's current top-tier sensor is the Elevate Gen 5. It's highly accurate.
Right.
In June of 2025, Garmin launched a device called the Index Sleep Monitor. It costs $169, and it carries that top-of-the-line Gen 5 sensor.
But the CRQA, which launched over a year later and costs $199.99, $30 more ships with an older sensor.
Yeah.
Garmin put the Elevate Gen 4 in it. Well, technically, they are calling it Gen 4.1, which is just the older Gen 4 sensor with skin temperature added to it.
A newer, more expensive device shipping with a last-generation sensor is incredibly rare in consumer tech. Garmin hasn't offered a public explanation for this at all.
It's just so strange.
However, looking at the engineering constraints, the most plausible reason is component cost allocation tied directly to the battery.
So it's a budget problem inside the physical shell of the device.
Precisely. The CRQA promises a 10-day battery life. But unlike the index monitor, which only tracks you while you sleep, the CIRQA is running a full suite of daytime tracking, continuous heart rate, and fitness broadcast features.
That's a lot of processing.
It is. To pull 10 days of life out of a device that tiny while doing that much computational work, you need a very high-density battery cell.
Okay, here's where I get stuck, though. It feels like buying a brand new premium sports car, only to pop the hood and realize it has last year's engine because they spent the budget on a larger gas tank.
That is a perfect analogy.
Like, yes, I appreciate the range, but the engine is the whole reason I bought the car.
Yeah.
Am I really losing that much by dropping down to the Gen 4.1 sensor?
Well, in daily wear, you might not notice, but in extreme use cases, you absolutely will.
Really? Like what?
The Gen 5 sensor was specifically redesigned to handle edge cases better. For example, in cold weather, your body undergoes vasoconstriction. It pulls blood away from the surface of your skin to keep your core warm.
Oh, which makes it harder to read the pulse.
Exactly. It makes it much harder for optical lights to read blood flow. The Gen 5 has better LED layout and intensity to brute force through that. It also physically seals better against bent wrists to block those external light leaks we talked about earlier.
So if you are an outdoor cyclist in the winter, or a lifter, the Gen 4.1 is going to struggle in the exact scenarios you need it most, unless you buy the bicep band to compensate for the older sensor tech.
It is a compounding series of trade-offs. And the sensor mysteries don't stop there.
No, they don't.
There is also the curious case of the missing EDA sensor.
Yes, the trademark filings. Before the CRQA launched, Garmin filed trademarks that specifically mentioned emotional stress sensing.
Right.
Now, physical stress in wearables is almost always derived from HRV heart rate variability. It measures the microscopic time differences between your heartbeats. But emotional stress usually implies electrodermal activity or an EDA sensor.
For those unfamiliar, an EDA sensor measures galvanic skin response. Essentially, when your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response spikes due to emotional stress, your sweat glands become more active.
Even if you don't feel sweaty, right?
Right. An EDA sensor uses tiny metal contacts to measure microscopic changes in the electrical conductance of your skin before you even realize you're sweating.
But when the CRQA launched, it had no EDA features. It only derives stress from the standard HRV math. So where did the emotional stress feature go?
Well, the 5runner's technical analysis suggests a very modern tech reality. The physical hardware contacts for EDA might actually be sitting inside the CIRQA right now, completely dormant.
Wait, really? So I might be walking around wearing tiny metal sensors on my wrist that are basically turned off?
Very likely, yeah. Hardware manufacturing requires massive lead times. You have to finalize the physical design months before the software is ready.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's highly probable Garmin built the EDA contacts into the CRQA, but their internal testing showed the emotional stress algorithms weren't accurate enough for launch, so they just hid the feature.
Wow.
They could theoretically wake those sensors up a year from now with a silent firmware update.
That is wild to think about. You are buying hardware that might literally evolve in its capabilities overnight.
It's the new reality of hardware.
But if the hardware choices were dictated by battery constraints and algorithm delays, the software choices on the CRQA are driven by something much more aggressive corporate monetization. And this brings us to the single biggest strategic reveal of the entire launch.
The Connect Plus subscription. This is a seismic shift for Garmin.
It really is.
Historically, Garmin's entire brand loyalty was built on a simple promise. You pay a premium for the hardware up front, but the software, the app, and the data analytics are free forever.
But the CRQA is the first device designed specifically to push you into a $69.99 a year subscription model.
Yeah.
And they do it by weaponizing the fact that the band doesn't have a screen. If you don't have a screen on your wrist, you have to look at your phone to see how your workout is going. But if you don't pay for Connect Plus theory, the live activity screen in the Garmin app is stripped bare.
It is remarkably punitive. Without the subscription, you cannot even see a live graph of your own heart rate on your phone screen during a workout.
That's crazy.
You also lose access to indoor workout libraries, strength coaching plans, nutrition tracking, and what they call active intelligence.
But this is where the strategy crosses the line from aggressive into pure absurdity. The CRQA has a built-in broadcasting feature.
Oh yeah, the broadcasting.
If you hold that single button down for 3 seconds, the LED flashes orange, and the band starts freely broadcasting your live heart rate over ANT Plus and Bluetooth.
Let's break down why that matters. ANT Plus is a low-power wireless protocol heavily used in the fitness industry because it broadcasts in a one-to-many format. Unlike Bluetooth, which is usually one-to-one, your CRQA can simultaneously send your live heart rate to a Peloton bike, to the treadmill screen at your local gym, to a Zwift virtual cycling setup on your iPad, and to a Garmin Edge computer on your handlebars.
So the device will beam my real-time data through the air for free to literally any other screen in the room.
Yes, completely free.
The only place Garmin forces me to pay $70 a year to see my own heartbeat is inside Garmin's own app.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's like going to a restaurant that says, hey, we will give you free unlimited refills all night if you bring your own water bottle. But if you want to drink out of a branded glass, that's a $70 cover charge. It is a completely artificial paywall.
It is artificial, absolutely. But it's foundational to where they are taking the company. They are trying to condition their user base to accept software subscriptions now because of what is coming next.
Oh, right, the future tech.
Exactly. The 5K runner discovered filings for 2 upcoming Garmin features, Muscle Battery and SmO2 sensing.
Muscle battery sounds intense. And SmO2, that's muscle oxygenation, right? How's that different from the normal blood oxygen, the SpO2 that our watches already track?
So SpO2 measures the general oxygen saturation in your entire bloodstream. SmO2 uses near-infrared spectroscopy to look into the actual muscle tissue.
Wow, okay.
It tells you exactly how much oxygen your left quad is burning compared to your right quad during a heavy squat.
That is incredibly granular data.
Exactly. And when you combine that with muscle battery, Garmin is pointing toward a future where they don't just tell you that your overall body is at 60% recovery.
They get specific.
Yeah, they will tell you that your chest muscles are fully recovered, but your hamstrings are still damaged from yesterday's sprint session, so the app will dynamically generate an upper body workout for you today.
Okay, I see where this is going. Doing that level of physiological math, tracking the recovery of individual muscle groups in real time, that is way too much data for a tiny watch processor to handle.
Right. It requires immense continuous cloud processing. You have to offload the raw data to Garmin servers, run it through massive machine learning models, and beam the coaching advice back to your phone.
And servers aren't free.
No. Cloud servers cost money to run every single day. Garmin cannot offer that level of continuous analysis on a one-time hardware purchase. They need recurring revenue.
So the live heart rate paywall today is just the incredibly awkward first step to get us used to swiping our credit cards for software so we are ready when the real cloud-based features arrive.
It is a long-term conditioning play. Pure and simple.
So to pull all of these threads together, if you are listening to this right now, looking at the $190 price tag and wondering if the CRQA is right for you, what is the ultimate verdict?
The verdict is that you need to know exactly what you are buying. The CRQA is not a whoop killer. It is a highly targeted, slightly compromised ecosystem defender.
The moat.
Exactly. If you are already deeply embedded in Garmin's world, you love your training metrics, you own a Garmin bike computer, but you absolutely refuse to sleep in a bulky GPS watch, This is your ideal solution. It seamlessly fills the overnight data gap.
Makes sense.
But if you are looking for a flawless, standalone wearable with bleeding-edge Gen 5 sensors, or if you expect a rich, free app experience out of the box, well, the hardware compromises and the new artificial paywalls are going to be a harsh reality check.
It really makes you step back and look at the entire trajectory of fitness technology.
It really does.
I mean, we started a decade ago with these chunky, massive watches that held all the brains, all the sensors, and all the screens right there on our wrists. It was entirely self-contained.
Yeah, everything lived on the wrist.
Now, companies are literally stripping away the screens, downgrading the physical sensors to save battery life, and pushing all the actual intelligence into the cloud behind a monthly subscription fee.
It is the ultimate unbundling of the wearable device. The intelligence is no longer on your body.
Which leaves you with a really provocative thought to mull over. As we move deeper into this subscription-heavy, cloud-based era, are we approaching a future where our wearables are nothing more than dumb physical sensors temporarily strapped to our arms?
I think we are.
And our true device, the thing that actually knows our health, our habits, and our physiology, is just a constantly evolving digital clone living entirely on a server in a data center somewhere.
Based on the CIRQA launch, that isn't just a possibility. It is the exact business model they are building toward.
Well, it is always a joy getting to pull back the curtain and discover the actual why behind the technology we strap to ourselves every single day. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Garmin CIRQA. We hope it helped clear the muddy waters of launch day hype. Keep questioning the tech you use, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.